This is 37th Street Radio and TV, and of course, we are out here hooking you up with the best of the best when it comes to guests. And today we have another special guest. So, guest, please introduce yourself.
How's it going? My name is Paul, otherwise also known on social media as Directed by P. I am a film director who specializes in TV commercials and branded content and music videos. I'm based in South Africa, Johannesburg, and I'm excited to be on this platform, 37th Street.
Yeah, thank you so much, by the way, for showing up. So, we'll just be talking and sharing a couple of things. But first of all, I just want you to explain to us how you even found yourself in such a field.
My journey started, I've actually been thinking about this for some time now in terms of where my journey actually began. And I feel like it all started for me. Sorry, so I'm also at home with my child at the moment, so you might just hear babies crying in the back.
Yeah.
There is
Yeah,
there.
no
But
problem.
so my journey started back in, I'd say, I'm saying high school, but it actually started when. What are you? Sorry, my man. So I'm saying high school, but it actually started way back when I was a young kid, and I'd have my family playing music videos in the background. Back in the day when we used to tape music videos on Channel O, and because you couldn't catch everything in time, so that's where it kind of started. I think it was subconsciously invested in me, and then the older I became, the more visual I realized I was as a person, because whenever I started like reading books, I realized that I would put words, I would put pictures to words, and I didn't think that it is something that would eventually lead me into film. But when I got to matric in South Africa, matric is like the last year of high school. They ask you what it is you want to do. And the one thing that I've always known that I wanted to do was to be in the creative industry.
We're talking about being in the last year of completing school, and that's when you really knew that you wanted to pursue this.
Yeah. So when I was in the last year of completing school, I was getting advice from my teachers about, what to do. And I was telling them that I actually want to get into the creative space. And someone, I think one of my teachers advised on filmmaking. And I wasn't sure about filmmaking because obviously as a career, when you tell your parents, when you tell your African parents that you want to be a film director, they laugh at you, and they wish you all the best in terms of making a living. So it became a bit tricky to convince my family that that's something that I wanted to do. So they asked me why would I want to do film, and I told them that I just want to basically share my creativity with the world and share my voice and share my my views and because that's one of the biggest things in terms of the reasons why I love film, is because it just allows you to change minds. It's a tool of communication to change minds, to communicate to a big audience of people with such beautiful textures. So they convinced me to first try out marketing as as a course to do. So they were like, cool, maybe you should try advertising. And then that's when I thought, okay, maybe marketing is something that could work for me. And I went out to a university called Tshwane University of Technology, which is in Pretoria. And I did my first year in marketing. So what I was saying was I went over to study marketing, which I did in my first year. And then midway through the year, I realized that it was really just not my passion to do film. because there were subjects in there that really clashed with what it is that I was trying to do, and film. And that's when now once again I found the calling to head over into that visual space, because although I loved the idea of advertising, I just didn't want to be on the logistics side of things. So I decided to rather delve into a more creative space. And the one way I could get into it, TUT is a very practical school, so they didn't offer creative advertising. So I figured, one way I could fall into the creative realm was jumping into film. And when I got to, so that's when I kind of left for marketing, and I hadn't informed my parents that I was changing my course. They only found out later on when I had applied for a bursary that my my field of study had changed, and they were surprised. But it is what it is. It made me happy. I feel comfortable, and I felt good to be in that space. It was a very thin line of making it or not, because they accept very few people in the film course. So I was one of the fortunate ones, which I'm extremely grateful for today, because it's brought me to where I am. And so yeah, in halfway through my first year of varsity studying marketing, I dropped out and I jumped into film, and I studied film for 3 years. And then in my third year, I majored in directing and script writing,
Yeah.
and I graduated. Yeah, and then I graduated in my fourth year, and my first work experience started in university, actually, where I would shoot friends' music videos, shoot family portraits with my camera, travel to events and take pictures there. And yeah, that's pretty much where my journey started, and that led me to meeting up with the owner of, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Bomb Productions, or if you've ever heard of Bomb Productions.
Not
It's
yet.
a it's a TV series production house in South Africa that does a lot of the popular TV shows. Currently, it did ones back in the day that were known as Zola. Um, they did Zone 14. Sorry, they did Zone 14. They've done Isibaya. They've done House of Zwide. So those are the productions that have been brought forward by that production house, which is where I got my first work experience officially as a professional young creative in the industry. And I worked in
Yeah.
the commercials division. They had a commercials division which was run by Teboho Mahlati, and I used to research under him as a creative researcher, who would help, putting together directors' treatments, finding video references and picture references to put into presentations that we would share with agencies around what our ideas for a commercial would be. And then that sort of started, that gave me my kickstart in terms of how I eventually got my foot in the door as being a director. So yeah.
So I want us to just talk about your early days at that time, if you can remember you starting out. So how was it? What did you do maybe to make guys to start believing in your craft?
It was very challenging at first, and it was very challenging at first. But the one thing I can tell you is that it took a lot of commitment from my side. I had to show a level of resilience, that I can take the successes as much as I can take the losses, so those rejections, and also that I was willing to put the hours into what needed to be done, because being in the film industry takes up a lot of your time. And That is something that you just have to be able to understand and be willing to compromise on in order for you to get to, the level that you aspire towards. You have to understand that there's going to be a lot of things that that you're just not going to get to experience. And I had to show that I was ready to be at that point, and I also had to show if I also had to show a level of belief in myself as somebody who trusted their own ideas, because a lot of the times you will tell people that you've got an idea about something, but they'll always challenge you to, they'll challenge your idea and question your conviction and your self-belief in your idea and in yourself. And then that could throw you off completely, where you say, that's it, I give up, I'm going to try something else. Or you keep at it, you keep pushing, and the more you go for it. And also just doing also just doing personal work. So passion projects, for example, I'd always do passion projects, which kind of gave them a sense of the kind of work that I wanted to do. And it gave them a sense of the kind of direction that I wanted to head into. And so with that came, the faith in me, in that, okay, cool, we feel like this guy is definitely ready to embark on his directing journey.
You, when you're starting out, and guys contact you, people usually want to see the seriousness in the director, and this includes the equipment that you have. People just don't want substandard equipment. So, and this filmmaking equipment is usually very expensive. So, while you are starting out, for you, where did you get funds to buy your equipment?
Yeah, man. So a lot of things for me happened with luck. When they say you were at the right place at the right time, it's a lot of that really happened for me, and I'm so fortunate that things panned out the way they did. But the way it worked was that yeah. So I remember when I was in varsity, a lot of the kids had MacBooks, and for for kids, young black kids who are getting into that kind of space, MacBooks are very expensive. It's not something that anyone can afford. And so it was very challenging for the kids who did not have access to compete at that level that the students that who had the access to Apple products and Macs and like certain softwares were at. And so that compelled me into applying for a bursary. Firstly, that was my first step. And applying for a bursary really it financially aided me in terms of being able to afford a MacBook. And secondly, what we would do is, I remember I was very persistent with my aunt. My aunt at the time had an events company where she would take celebrities down to the Durban July every year on a train. And I convinced her that what she needs to invest in is a camera. And I told her that I would take the photos. I guaranteed her, and I gave her my word that I would take the photos, and that I would also record video. And so what we would do is she eventually helped me out in buying one, but everything else I had to kind of source myself. And the way I did that was with the camera that was bought a Canon. That was a Canon 6D Mark II. and with a 24 to 105 lens, a Canon lens. And what I would do is I would shoot music videos for my friends, and then like music videos are very cheap back. Like I mean, for guys who wanted, you know, aspiring rappers, uh, you know, who would tell you, no man, I've only got 8,000 for a music video, but we can do something cool. So I'm like, fine. So I would get a couple of my friends from school, and the guys would give me a 50% deposit for their music video, and then with that money, I would go and rent equipment, and then after renting equipment, you know, say 3,000 rand, we rent lights. We would then go shoot, and once the video comes out, they would give us additional cash for editing. And then so from the money we made from editing, we would take that money and then put it back into adding accessories for our equipment, and seeing, you know, either, you know, buying the softwares that we need at school for color grading, for script writing, you know. So that we had to hustle. And I feel so that was one way that where I first learned that, you know, you have to use the resources that you have, and you have to find ways to always, you know, firstly to add value to people, and then make money by you know, by not just focusing on doing one thing, but offering multiple services to people, and with that money always bring it back to adding on to your skill set in order to you know, elevate yourself. And so that was the way in which I started in terms of adding on to the equipment that we needed, the cameras, the access to MacBooks, and, you know, until I obviously started working, which was then a different story, because now I'm earning a monthly salary, so I can afford these things. But before then, yeah, it was just, you know, let's hustle, let's see what we can do to make it happen.
Right now, I want to know how you deal with the change in technology. Right now, we have new equipment every day. Probably we have software, new software. You have this software, you hear of maybe there is a better software. So how do you deal with the fast changing technologies nowadays?
Yeah, look, man, it's all about adapting, you know. It's all about adapting. Adapt or die, you know. Um, you can't close yourself off the climate that we're living in. And, you know, I am somebody who is a firm believer in the fact that the only constant in life is change, you know. And if you don't grasp that concept early on in your career, it might be too late, you know. Some people get stuck in the traditional ways of doing things, but um, yeah, you just have to surround yourself with people who are willing to you know, to change with you, to change with the times, to move with the times. And you just have to keep educating yourself about what is out there, you know. For example, now people can I can direct a commercial from, you know, from here, from South Africa out in Kenya, on online, right? And we can remote edit now, and we've got things like Frame.io, where our, you know, clients don't need to be on a call, and they can just send their feedback online, and, you know, for a grade or for a cut or for anything like that. So it's just about constantly informing yourself and staying up to date with what is happening in your industry, and just staying up to date with the technology that's taking place, and just teaching yourself how these things work, and not closing yourself off. So yeah.
If you have a certain project, of course, you usually make the preparations. And I just want to know, sometimes when you prepare and you go on set and things don't happen as prepared, so how do you deal with that as a director? Because, like, generally in life things don't usually go as planned. So how do you deal with such things?
Okay, so firstly, I have I have habits that I have formed that help me navigate life and navigate challenges, navigate changes, and on many different levels. And these habits have now found a way of showing me how to respond to certain things, respond to people, respond to situations, respond to changes. And firstly, the first habit is every morning I do a meditation between 5 to 15 minutes max. I meditate every morning. It's essential. I breathe. I control my breath. I control my breath. I accept, I basically do like body scan meditations where I feel the sensations of my body. I don't get distracted by the outside noises. I just listen to my breath. And then, it depends what kind of meditation that I'd be doing for that morning. But every morning, a meditation is important, right? To regulate my breath and to just basically make me feel like I'm in control of my day and I'm in control of how I respond to things. That's the first habit. The second habit is I go to gym. I try to go to gym at least 5 days a week, because what that does for me is that mentally it keeps me focused. And when you think of the gym, people always tend to assume that we just want to go and build muscle, and show off. And sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes you treat the gym like it's life, where in life there'll be different weights that you have to lift, and you just have to keep pushing yourself. You can't let the weight pull you down. You have to try and become stronger than that, right? And you have to know your limits. So that's the second one. You have to know your limits. So that keeps me, it also just gives me energy for the day. If I'm exhausted, because I've got a little child, as you can see there, I've got a child. So it keeps me focused, keeps me mentally strong, keeps me awake. And then the third one is basically, I don't want to say learning from other directors, but I would say keeping myself informed with what is happening currently in terms of films, series, commercials, music videos, just staying up to date with what's happening. So all these things for me impact how I respond to situations, right? So on set, even with my team, which I'm also extremely grateful for, um, you need a strong team around you, people who know what they're doing, people you can trust in case things don't go the way that they are intended to. You need to have a good producer, a good production manager, a good, a good executive producer. You need to have a team around you that you can trust, people who have your back, even a creative assistant, somebody who can catch your shortfalls, that you don't see, or things that could lead to financial implications for the people that you're shooting for. You need to have those sort of people around you just to notify you that, hey, listen, you can't do this because it's going to affect that. And so when you walk onto set, be prepared, be prepared for anything. And the best way to prepare yourself before you walk onto set is pre-set, pre-production. Make sure that you have you have paid, attention to detail is so important in the film industry. Make sure that you have kind of visualized every scenario of, if this was to go wrong, how would I fix it? You know what I mean? So that's why things like meditation, when you visualize how you want certain things to come out, like the minute you find yourself in that said situation, that morning meditation is going to help you to recenter yourself, be calm, and have a clearer sense of a response, or clearer sense of how to deal with a certain scenario, how to deal with a person who doesn't want to necessarily give you what you're looking for as a director, how to deal with people who might undermine you. It's always just staying calm, just making sure that you are fully prepared. And yeah, man, just believing and trusting in yourself. And yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, so when you talk to these industry players in your country, and maybe even if you have links to other directors in other countries, where are we as Africans in terms of film? Because in Hollywood, we hear just one movie like this. I don't know the budget is of how many $billion. And of course, when they release it, they have the returns and they even have the profit. So as African film, and to just talk about film and also music videos, where are we in terms of other continents in comparisons of other industries?
Bro, I think we are actually not far off. You know, we have some really talented African filmmakers. Like, we can all see, when you look at social media, we can all see that the world is like paying attention. The world is paying attention, and we are also starting to really put our best foot forward as Africans. You know, I think the stock that we're producing, the talent that's coming out of Africa is just amazing, man. We've got some pretty amazing directors this side. Like, our music videos are also exceptional. I mean, of course, like here and there, you know, you'll have productions that don't have high budgets, but a lot of a lot of the stuff that we're doing now is really, really, really good. And you know, and it's just about having the right connections in terms of you know, getting people to see your work. It's always tricky, you know, to work out that space and see how can people see more of my work? How can people see my work? How can I get to work with this artist? How can I do that? But it's in connecting with people in the best way that you know how, the way that you feel is right to you. You know, it's different for everybody. It's not the same for, you know, all of us. And I honestly feel that we are only going to get better from here. You know, with our productions, we're only going to get better from here, man. We're only going to start seeing more investments coming to Africa. We're only going to start seeing a lot more um, young content creators coming out of the country and just booming with like creating, you know, simple films or whatever, you know, simple content basically that's created in the comfort of their own home and spaces, using their own technologies and things that they have access to. And it's going to be, you know, I really feel like after this past 2 years, there's this massive boom that's going to take place, and like there are people that you can see right now that these people are going to be the torch bearers of, you know, the next wave of you know, leveling Africa up and us being on that international, you know, on that international standard. Because you look at music videos from Nigeria, they're amazing. You look at music videos from Ghana, from Kenya, from Tanzania, Zambia. I shot a music video with a friend of mine who was actually from the UK. We shot a music video for a lady called Spoken Priestess, and we had I think we had I'm not sure if it was Kenya or Tanzania, but we had an artist from there, and we had to find a way to get them to shoot half of the music video that side, using the specs that we gave them, and just using the aesthetics that we had shared with them, and then we had to merge these two worlds together and make sure that it all fits together and doesn't feel like it's breaking out. And it worked out really, really well. And then we had another artist in the UK. They did the same thing, and then there was somebody, you know, and there was somebody else from Zimbabwe, and it was just this like uh, amazing web of just creatives and artists coming together to put together one music video, and it was just phenomenal to watch, you know, and to watch and to see the end result of the video, which was
Yeah.
great, you know. It wasn't the highest of budgets, but we made it work, and it still came out really dope. And it did fortunately get a MTV Spanking New, which was
Yeah.
cool. But man, I mean, the you know, the world is definitely paying attention to what Africans are doing, and I don't see it in any sort of negative light, like you know, we're trying too hard or we're doing this. Of course, there's going to be, we shouldn't be too hard on ourselves as, you know, as a, we shouldn't be too hard on ourselves. Yes, let's be critical and let's be honest. If something is bad, it is like, it's bad. If something is not great quality, it's not great quality. We can't lie to ourselves, you know, because we've got a standard to maintain. But I would say that I think, it's only going to get better from here, man. It's only going to get better from here.
So as we are finishing up, I want you to just talk to us about how you are able to deal with competition. Right now, everybody has a camera. Right now, everybody has a laptop. They can do what you're doing. But for you, are you able to just stand out? In other words, I'm asking, why should I work with you and not just other people?
You know, I think for me, you know what I said earlier about adding value to people. Anybody can shoot anything. You know, that's the truth. Anybody can shoot anything. People can do something that you can do at a cheaper rate. But the one thing that you can't take away from another person is passion and dedication and investment to that work. You know, when something has heart and something has been considered and something has been refined and like well thought out, you can see it visually. You know, and for me, I feel like that is the one thing that'll always give me an edge over my competitors. And I also feel that my ability to take any kind of content that I'm offered on the table, to take any kind of content and transform it into something that people would not be expecting, is something that I really believe that the way I started helped me in terms of giving me that, you know, that step above what somebody else could try bring. You know, it's not just about sticking to the trends. You know, it's not always just about sticking to the trends and trying something. It's more about like, if you stick to a trend, how do you create your own trend? How do you do something completely different? You know what I mean? So, that is the one thing that I feel like will always sort of give me that step above what others would be doing. So yeah, and it's always just about staying relevant, of course, and staying dynamic and always changing, but doing something that inspires people and not just doing what others are doing. And that's the one thing that okay. So yeah, my man, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. So thank you so much for giving us your time. Thank you so much for
And yourself,
giving us a lot of information. I really wish you all the best.
Thank you, man. And yourself, who are you? What do you do?
I am Barry. I'm a vlogger.
Barry. And what's your intention with the vlog?
I just want to, I deal with business, fitness, and entertainment. So I usually just want to show guys what's happening behind the scenes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Barry. Thank you, Barry, man. Nice meeting you. Hopefully when I come out to Kenya, we'll link up.
Yeah, of course.
And share my picture on your page.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right, my man. Take care.